Hi, I'm Jason Sterling. I'm a member of the EA Creator Network, and this is the Myshuno gentrified penthouse. I began it, of course, as what you see here. I created a starter penthouse for a family. Also did a version of this for a single sim. It's much like a tiny house, a tiny penthouse. This is stage 2 of gentrification, where we take our starter. We have to maintain the same footprint, but we upmarket it and upgrade it for the, usually the sort of final wave into a gentrified area of much higher income individuals who move into an area where someone else took the risk to come in and try to rehabilitate it. Now, I redid this entire lot earlier today. There was a mistake with the video recording, so it was unusable. However, the lot is done. So I'm going to walk through this, rebuilding it as I go. It'll be pretty quick. It'll be a lot quicker than it was earlier, simply because I know what I want to do, right? I don't have any sort of questions on how I want to do this. The first thing is we're going to get rid of all the stuff that's already. Now, we're going to make some changes, of course, to the interior floor plan, a fairly big change to the interior floor plan. Lot of changes to the exterior. With stage 2, of course, we have all the money in the world, however much money we need, and all of the packs, all the assets from every pack. The starter, of course, was starter priced and only contained assets from City Living. I had to remember the name for a minute. City Living and the base game. Now, we're going to start here by pulling the bathroom wall out. One of the big changes I wanted to make was have a space where we would have a dedicated closet. Something that let me take that out. Something that we could kind of promote, right, as a developer or a realtor, as a walk-in closet. A walk-in closet for this new, gentrified bedroom. I put in another door here to the bedroom. This is going to become a home office. This will be our living room, of course. I have a much larger, much grander kitchen. Now, for the bathroom, let me fix this light fixture here. I decided to go with a walk-in shower. We're going to change, I think I kept it as, went ahead and kept it as tile. So we'll go ahead and put tile in here. I do change the color of the closet. Sort of wall coverings for the closet, but we'll use tile here. We're going to grab the doorway that goes for the shower that we got maybe with Love Struck or something like that. Where is it here? And we're going to grab a couple of shower heads. I decided to go with this. It is not the best shower, but it is the best looking shower. It's super cool. It's got that rainfall shower head, which I think is really, really neat. We're going to use the fancy Myshuno toilet, the one that talks to you, the one that keeps you company when you're in the bathroom, busy with your business. Okay, so there goes that. And then we also need a sink. We need a sink area. Now, the cabinetry that I end up using in the kitchen is this particular cabinetry in its darker form. That is one thing I ended up going with on this apartment, was a much sort of darker tone. I went back and forth kind of with where I was headed with it. I ended up doing this for the sim that I did the tiny penthouse apartment for, the tiny house penthouse apartment. And I pretended that he ended that particular stream with about $500 left over after his apartment was done. But he started this stream with like $500,000, or no, not $500,000, $1 million. So I pretended, that he must have gone to work for the mafia and was doing very well in their employ. And so I was thinking, what kind of style would kind of a guy in the mafia who's also very modern, though. He's very modern. He has very modern sensibilities. What exactly would he want to see in a penthouse apartment? Now, originally with this apartment, with the starter, I used this cheap free concrete. the like builder's grade concrete or something they call it in an orange color to give it a little pop of color, give it a little feel. I wanted to stick with the idea of having a stained concrete floor. I found this is actually royal marble, but to me, it does have this sort of distinct look of scored and then stained concrete. So that's what I use here for our flooring throughout the entire apartment. As a light fixture, I went with this really simple white version of, I think they just call it the box light, which came with a, fairly recent kit, maybe like the most recent modern furniture kit that we just got. I think so. We're going to put it here in like everywhere. It's going everywhere. We'll put it here in the kitchen. Here on the exterior, I'm going to add actual windows on top of the sort of plate glass walls that we have going on here. We're going to take out the lines in between the glass and make it a solid kind of curtain wall. And we're going to have an outdoor kitchen. So we're going to put in a, in fact, actually, let me change this just a little bit here. Let's go like that. We're going to have an outdoor kitchen, so we're going to set up a sort of corridor from this side to this side of the yard. The space also allows us a sort of visual entry hall when you come off the elevator. Real quick here, we're going to move a few things out of the way, and we are going to also change this exterior concrete. We're going to turn it into the same sort of royal marble is what it's called, but what I think of as a stained, something that looks like a stained concrete. We're going to cover this area here, maybe like frame it all in, gives it a much nicer look than the old cheap kind of builder's grade concrete. We're going to do a pool in this particular yard as well, now that we have unlimited funds. But before we get to the pool, we're going to work on the kitchen. We're going to use the same cabinetry as the bathroom that I kind of touched on just a little bit ago. And we'll put this here. We're going to grab a bar, and we're going to do a long line here of sort of bar style counters in order to have an interior spot to eat instead of a dining room. We're going to have kind of an outdoor dining room. Again, we can't change the footprint of this build. We got to stay within our our floor plan footprint. So we can't add on a room or add on a bedroom or put on a second floor. But we can do like an outdoor kitchen, outdoor living space. That's what we are going to end up doing. For the moment, I'm going to grab the appliances here that we need for the kitchen. This comes in a really, really cool green. And at the time, I kind of thought somehow maybe I would be able to find additional green items that might work with it. I really didn't find additional green items that worked with it. But I still like them, and I'm going to leave them in this particular build. One thing that does kind of match, though, in color and tone, because it comes from the same pack, comes from Growing Together, is this particular bar stool. So we've got a green, is this the green version? Yeah, we got a green version of it. So for our interior dining, we'll go ahead and put those around there to kind of tie that green of the kitchen appliances into at least a little bit, more of the house. There was no additional cabinetry included with Get Together, but I think that this, even though it's not exactly the same, make sure I've got the right color here. Even though it's not exactly the same, I think that it's close enough and has a close enough feel in tone that we can use it. And so I'm going to go through and use this sort of upper cabinetry, which I really quite like. I do think it looks pretty good. I went ahead and changed the exterior of this cabinetry to white. So we have white and brown together. Another thing I really like about this cabinetry is it's some of the few cabinetry that we have that has this corner piece as opposed to an angled door, which again is just a more modern take on it. Let's change. I think that's more the color. I don't know. The colors on the corner looks a little strange, doesn't it? It definitely looks a little strange. I'm going to just leave it and go with it. That is what it is supposed to match. It's supposed to match. So I'm going to go with it. I'm going to just like kind of roll with that. When I first did it, I mean, I did think that it kind of looked just fine. So I'm going to assume that it does look good. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple of windows here along this edge of the kitchen. We're going to do a couple out here as well. We're going to have, like I said, an outdoor kitchen out here. So we're going to put a couple of these windows outside. I'm going to do them in red. I use red as something of an accent color coming up as we kind of really get into accessorizing this particular build. There is not a great dishwasher to match these appliances. However, we do have here with Life and Death, the Life and Death pack, we have something that works pretty well. The color matches the cabinetry, so that's great. And then the handles do kind of tie into the handle of the stove, kinda, and into the coloring of the sink. So we're getting at least a sort of blending together of the colors and the way it should look. Now I decided real quick, I could be remembering the tone of the cabinetry a little bit off. So I did switch these to white and brown. And I think this is closer. This color brown definitely matches the lower cabinetry quite a bit better than what we had before. And I used a lot of white as a way of bringing down the darkness of the house. The wall color in this room stays white. That was on purpose. I tried different wall colors initially during the initial recording and decided in the end, of course, that it just wasn't working. It really needed that white background in order to keep from being too chaotic. Too much in the space. It is a small space. With the living room furniture, I really wanted to use a sectional here, but at the same time, I've commented on this before. The only sectional we have came with Dream Home Decorator. And I was getting a little tired of using that same piece of furniture. Now, this is what we used to do in the old days. Before we had a true sectional, it was pretty common for people to merge pieces of furniture together like this. Now, the bad thing, of course, is you get this stutter. I'm going to look at reactivating the tool mod. I don't have mods active at the moment, but I'm going to look at reactivating that and going ahead and fixing it. You can fix it with the tool mod. It's pretty easy. You just change the scale of the item by 0.01%. So, you select scale and you, instead of having 1, you change it to 0.999. I've gone over that in a lot of different build videos, a lot of different kind of technique videos over the years and years, over time. Yeah, over time, like all of time, over eons. So yeah, definitely I've gone over that again and again and again. I've never done an official video on it. I just work it into the actual kind of build videos that I'm doing. But you may have seen me touch on that before. It is a pretty common thing for me to do, a pretty favorite thing for me to do, something I really enjoy doing. We're going to ultimately use a copy of this out here. Now for the chair here, I just grabbed the matching chair for this particular set. I didn't really need to necessarily. I could have grabbed something else, but I was afraid what I would end up grabbing, because it's what I was leaning towards, was going to be the same stuff that I tend to use a lot in game because it is my favorite, they're my favorite items. Let's see, here it is. So I did go ahead and just go with the matching chair from this particular set. Tried to give it a little bit of an angle. I don't want to inhibit this walkway or this walkway, right? I don't want to inhibit our kind of route of passages between these 2 points or between these 2 points. I want to try to keep the traffic flowing. I throw a quick rug under this, and again, it's a very, very light colored sort of rug. I think, was it this one? No, but this one might have worked. I went with something a little more what I could think of as kind of modern, a very shaggy sort of fuzzy sort of rug in white. And in fact, it's called something like that, like fuzzy rug or something to that effect. I think it's supposed to be maybe a bear skin rug. I don't see it on here. It has to be on here. I already used it, but actually I need this. No, yeah, I do need that. Let's put that over there. Aha, and here we go. The super fuzzy fuzz rug. Again, like I said, kind of, that sounds kind of modern, right? Sounds kind of 70s maybe. Loose kind of 70s or 60s, very kind of shaggy. So we're going to put that in there. And then I did a sort of surround, kind of system for the front door. So someplace where maybe you could hang your coats, someplace where you could store some shoes. Storing shoes as you come in the front door is not a typically American thing. You don't find that very often in American homes. But I thought, hey, let's go ahead and do it anyway. This is Myshuno, right? It's very sort of multicultural. So we're going to try to, expand kind of our reach with who this apartment might appeal to. I did a bunch of stuff like that and like that. And there is a nice little cabinet here. Where is it? Aha, right about here. Take white off. Okay, so we've got this right here. We're going to take that and we'll put it on there and one on this side. So again, you've got kind of this little idea of someplace to put maybe a coat, put some shoes underneath here. I filled the entire thing in. We're going to move it a little bit closer to the entrance, and we're going to move this a little bit further away. Kind of eyeball it. It doesn't fit exactly on the grid, which is fine. So we'll go ahead and we'll kind of eyeball it there so that it fits where it needs to go. I did not use a lot of wall art in this particular build. However, I did place this in a series of 3. Not all red. Let's see if I can remember which colors. I think I used this one and then also maybe that. So you get a little bit of variation on like a theme, right? A variation on the subject. That was really, I think, the only wall art I put into this build. I did do some wall clutter, but not wall art. This is going to be our desk. I think this is the tone I put it in. I wanted something white. I think this is as white as it gets. That's fine. It works great. That's all we really needed to do. And then I grabbed what is actually my favorite chair, I think, in the entire game. And it's this sort of clear, sort of lucite type of chair. Use that as our chair here at our desk, and then the expensive computer, the fancy computer, and the computer that I didn't really realize until today had as many swatches as it does, because we're going with kind of a red overlay to that. You can kind of see where the mouse and the surface of the keyboard there kind of change colors. Love that. I didn't realize that. I always just used it as the first swatch, I never really investigated or looked into what might be on the other swatches. I was kind of thinking when I was first building this, I gotta kind of check things out sometimes, right? I can't just breeze past everything, kind of miss it. We're going to throw a few decor items in here. Again, I went with red as kind of an accent color. So we'll put several sort of red items throughout the build. I'd used something, it was like the little giraffes in red. The They're not there. Are they here under clutter? I don't know what pack they came with, and I'm sure I'll probably miss them again and again and again, looking for them here. But I don't know. I did use this guy. Remember him? I used him over here in the kitchen, which I love those things. You used to see these like all over the place in like the 90s. Like even Taco Bell had them as like, you know, decor in their restaurant. I'm going to need this too. We'll put this over here for now. Well, there it is right there. Okay. I'll say, well, I don't see it, but I do. Put it right here, a little bit smaller, something like that. Our kind of pass-through closet needs, I always take care of with Dream Home Decorator. Like, you know, like literally always. So we're going to go ahead and go with the same sort of cabinetry look as we did with the upper cabinets in the kitchen. White, you know, brown on white. We put in just a simple sort of coat hanger here, like our clothing hanger. We'll grab a set of drawers, right? So if you want to put something away, you've got that option. I usually elevate these particular pieces a little bit up off the ground. Those don't look like the same color, do they? I usually elevate them a little bit up off the ground because I put shoes down here on the bottom. So it gives us a little place to tuck our shoes. I don't think that's the same color. This is kind of close to that color. So we're going to go with that. We're going to call that good. And I need a sort of, like I said, most of this place I kept white paint. However, for the closet and the master bedroom, I did use a type of wood. I think this is something like, you know, looks like wood type of stuff. Maybe like the faux paneling of kind of the 1970s, kind of maybe a little bit into the 80s, depending on how long it took your parents to, like, you know, update the family room, right? So I put that into the bedrooms. Also in this bedroom, I went ahead and used this particular rug. I did it in orange, and then I complemented it with another version of it. Turn a little bit on the angle, and did that in a brown. That's sort of the brown version of this. I think it was like, yeah, that color there. This, unfortunately, is not the best bed as far as comfort goes, right? And as far as rest goes, but I absolutely love it. I love this bed. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use it here. Kind of comes in with that orange as well. So the orange rug, the orange bed comes in really well together. It also works really well with this wall. That's how the wall color got chosen, was it just really tied in super, super well. A quick lamp and end table really kind of bring the rest of the bedroom together. And there's not much more to the bedroom than what you see here. It is a small room, of course, to begin with. I could, but my own personal rule is to maintain the existing footprint. So we're going to work with what we've got. It's functional though. It will work really well. And I do think it looks nice. I think it looks pretty good with these sort of darker, richer tones. Now on the outside here, we're going to do the pool area. I put in a fairly good size pool for this lot. This is a pretty small lot. This is only, well, I mean, technically it's 20 by 30. In reality, of course, we lose a chunk of it over here. So not quite 20 by 30. So I put in a good size pool here. I use a bunch of stuff from the Riviera kit to kind of flesh this out. I also pull in some Desert Luxe for this particular build. We're going to put in the flooring here first. Then we're going to grab some wall tile that basically matches what we just did. We're going to just put it in as well. Is that what I used? I think that's what I used. Why does that seem odd all of a sudden? Actually, I think it's because I did use something a little bit lighter. I don't know if it would have been something from this particular selection, but we're going to go with that. I was working with these sets when I did this, so it makes sense that I might have pulled something. I did decide that it was just a little bit too dark to use that one tile on the surround. But I did use this particular surrounding tile from the Riviera pack, and we grabbed a couple of light fixtures, also from that pack for here in the bottom of the pool. We can't get a grid into the bottom of the pool, so I'm just going to eyeball it and hope that it is close enough. I think it's probably close enough. I'm not too concerned about it. And then we have, of course, really nice pool ladder options with that Riviera pack. So we'll put our pool ladders in here. I'm going to go ahead and change this window while I'm thinking about it. I put in a couple of loungers from Desert Luxe. We'll put them in probably right here, kind of right here. I want them to line up so they can share a table. We're going to have them share actually this table here. I also grabbed, I must have left it over in the Riviera kit. Let me see here. One of these little sort of trays. We'll give them a little tray, have a little drink on, a few little drinks, little sort of fruity, juicy drink. I'm going to go with that tone, that tone. And I also use these chairs, these particular chairs from this pack as well. And we do 4 of them, kind of arranged. Oh, I might adjust those slightly. I think that's way too close. I know I had this in the middle. Maybe this was more like this, little bit spread out. I did get rid of the dartboard for this particular build. I had the dartboard in the starter, but decided I didn't really need it for the gentrified version. I don't know why. I just didn't think that I wanted it or that it fit with what I was looking for. We use this particular bar though. Put the bar there. We're going to grab a couple of bar stools just like we are using inside the house. Again, give us one more chance to bring that green into the environment so it doesn't stand out quite so much. I wanted to do a rug outside and ended up going with that kind of earthy sort of woven with tan. Is this rattan? Is that what this is? Maybe type of rug in a very dark color. A very dark color. We'll make it larger like that. There we go. And again, I might have had it more about here, so that things were a little more spread out. Let's take this. Something like this. Something like this. Gives us a little outdoor seating area. I had a couple of decorative items as well. A couple of the little trees also from the Riviera kit. I use a lot of stuff from the Riviera kit, not just here, but in general. I just really do like it. I think it's a really well done kit. Has some really cool stuff in it. We're going to do a few upgrades here to our exterior landscaping. Not a lot, but a little bit. I throw in some of these little bushes at the same time. Again, just to kind of dress it up a little bit. I didn't feel like we needed a whole lot there. I did use one of these over by the front door. And I also put one of them over here by what becomes our kitchen. This we're going to move to the corner. These were debug items that were free of charge. So a really, really quick and easy and cheap way to, which way did I put that? Like that? Okay. Really quick and easy and cheap way to decorate with some landscaping on this roof when it was a starter price, because I really didn't have much money to use. Even though we're not stuck with the starter price any longer, right? We're doing the full gentrification price. I'm going to go ahead and leave those in place. I need to kind of straighten them up just a little bit here. I need to make sure they're kind of in place properly. But I do kind of like them. I think it was a good idea. There's a lot of stuff in debug that you can use that way. I don't use debug a lot. There can be some issues with the items that are in debug, with the way they display and interact sometimes. It's not a big deal though. I mean, obviously I did go ahead and still use it. So it wasn't something that concerned me that much, but there can be a few kind of little issues like that. I think I'm going to bring this out just a little bit. We're going to put in, or I did put in, the lit up light posts to give this a little, or column, I should say, to give this a little bit, even more sort of modernity, right? Make it even a little more modern, a little more kind of high tech, kind of special. Let's move this here like that, I guess. Yeah, that looks right. I did change this quite a bit. Again, I got rid of the blue, got rid of the colors. I kept the orange. I kind of pulled away from the blue, went much more into this sort of brown, which we're going to put on here. I grabbed a new form of platform trim. Originally, I put those platforms in there because they are free, right? The platform is free. The trim that goes around the platform is free. And it enabled me to put something that looked a little bit like a molding for the build on the build without it, actually costing me anything. In this case, we're going to use actual molding to finish this out. We're going to just do this jutting exterior trim here to kind of finish off some of these little kind of gaps here that we got going on. I think that's it. That gets us a lot closer to where we end up, exterior wise. And I add in some windows on top of these windows. Now, for our budget version, for our starter version, I did just go with the floor to ceiling panes of glass. But for this version, and this is what I typically do, I like to add an actual window on top of that to give it an even greater sort of modern sense, right? A greater modern look to it. We're going to put this in here and here. Which do we have? We have this. I think that's the same color, right? Must be. I put this here in the living room by the sofa so that it gives the appearance of being like a shelf off the back of the sofa that we can put things on. And in fact, that is exactly what I end up doing naturally, is putting some decorative items, sort of knick-knacky type of stuff on there. Let's fix these pillows a little bit. On there for decor. We're going to grab a couple of these pillows and put them down here too. Let me have this one. Make it kind of larger. Back here, I did rearrange this stuff just a little bit. I moved this a little bit closer here. Moved this a little bit closer here. I wanted to use there's a certain sort of floral display stand that came with Eco Living as well, I believe, or Eco Lifestyle, as it's called. Where is it? I don't see it. Okay, so maybe it didn't, but I'm sure it did. Let's find out where it really came from. I'm sure it came from Eco Lifestyle. I've been wrong numerous times before. So let's go in here. Let's check out our decorations. Check out our plants. And it was Eco Living. I just missed it. So I've set up several of these particular planters, I guess, or what do they call them officially? Plant Pals, wall planter, just to kind of make it a sort of nicer area here when you come out to take out the garbage, when you come out to, get your mail, pay your bills. So I'd set that sort of idea up here. Then on this side, of course, we had our kitchen, our outdoor kitchen, starting with one of the new items, the grill from the garden to table, kit, $5 kit. Another wonderful kit, really, really, really great kit. I thought they did just a fantastic job with that. I threw out a little sort of refrigerator. We really don't need one. I mean, literally the fridge to the house is for the house is right there. But at the same time, it is the sort of thing that you probably would expect to find in, a higher quality, higher priced penthouse, as we have here. Top of the line. We'll put this here. Same thing's true of this sort of like, I'm going to put a sink in here. Again, we really don't need a sink because we have one right inside the house. but it makes sense that there would be one in this type of structure. We're going to do a red blender both inside and outside because this guy entertains on both sides and he likes his blender drinks. So we're going to, should I put it there? Maybe here. Let's put it here. Maybe back here. I'll put it back here. Yeah, we'll put it back over here. That's our blender drink setup. There's a table. Put a table out here. The table we've had for a long time. It is from, like the fitness kit from a long time ago. The Signature V, which comes in a really cool kind of orange color, which we're going to use here. Originally, I think I might have used base game chairs, but I'm going to use these particular chairs instead. Again, I really like the sort of transparent feel. They come in this beautiful white color. It's going to be really nice out here on this particular sort of deck, our deck area. Now, we are going to use our particular shelf here by the sofa to put some few knickknacks on. I'm going to make sure I have it at the right height. I need to adjust it slightly. Luckily, we can just grab the window and just kind of, let's bring it up here. Just kind of match it up this way. There we go. And then anything else we want to put on there that we want to look like as part of the shelf, we can do that pretty easily without too much trouble. Okay, and there we go. I grabbed this little frog. Something expensive we brought back from vacation, right? And then just an actual ruby. Great big crystal. Maybe we got it at the mall. Maybe we got it at some shop at the mall, right? Nice decorative piece. I do think this makes a really cool look to have this sort of bay in the window that we can place objects on. It is not slotted. You will have to lift them up yourself, turning on the Move Objects On sheet and then using the number 9 to lift it up into place. And then as you saw, I adjusted the window slightly to meet up with the item itself. But it does provide a really, really cool and effective sort of look. I think a very, very, very realistic, more realistic than having nothing there, right? More realistic than having nothing there, because anybody with that sort of shelf in a window would put it to use. I did just a lot of books on these shelves here, especially on this side. I did a ton of books. I also did a couple of them over here, and then just a bunch of other sort of just knick-knack things in order to fill the space up. The books I went through and just changed the colors, like one after another, so they wouldn't look quite so monotonous. They do still look a little monotonous, right? Because they're all kind of the same shape, but at least, this way they have a little bit of variation, look a little bit different. Okay, and essentially that's it. I'll put still shots here at the end so you can see the entirely finished project. There was a couple of more sort of like clutter things I put into place. I think that's about it. I just went through and threw in a few clutter items in like the kitchen, a few places. Otherwise, it is done. It's really unfortunate. I spent 2 hours actually redoing this particular build as a very long play build. I spoke a lot about why I chose what I chose, how I chose it. I talked about gentrification. I talked about Patrick, the guy that I have, the sim I have living here. You can hear I'm almost losing my voice. I spent so much time talking about it because I actually recorded another video this morning before that one. So it's a shame that really did get lost. It was very disappointing, but this is the build which I really do like. I hope you like it as well. It will be up on the gallery, of course. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify. Next time, we're doing Forgotten Hollow. Forgotten Hollow. Did you forget about Forgotten Hollow? Forgotten Hollow is still there. We're going to do Forgotten Hollow. We're going to do a starter in Forgotten Hollow. And that'll be coming up pretty shortly, in a few days, probably after this hits, after this launches. And we also have big news. I'm sure we've probably already passed the actual date, but we just got the sort of little teaser that something's coming on January the 15th for, some future pack, right? Now there's been rumors of a royalty and legacy pack. So there's the rumors. Will that be what it is? We don't know yet, but we do know that the sort of hint that they put out definitely speaks to that. It very strongly hints to that. Those of us in the EACN, the EA Creator Network, it was like a scroll, that we got online. The scroll would open up and you could read about it. And there was a secret message hidden, in the background of the scroll. So very, very cool. I'm really excited for that. Can't wait to see it. Hopefully it's good. It's always good for me because I love to build and I love new worlds. So from that standpoint, I'm pretty optimistic because usually I'm pretty happy with the build stuff we get. And I'm pretty happy with the worlds kind of. Sometimes I'm thrilled and absolutely in love with the worlds we get. Other times I think they're okay. Right? But I always have a good time building in them. So from that standpoint, I'm thrilled. I just absolutely cannot wait. So please hit like, subscribe, and notify so you can catch additional videos here in this series, Gentrification. Videos coming where I'll do some never too early to build, some advanced building for the new pack for when it launches. And anything else that kind of comes into my head, anything else I happen to think of along the way. And until those times, thanks for watching.